to IMARA Women Magazine. I'm your host, Wendy Brawley. I'm so delighted to be here today for this very special taping with the Circle of Influence Leadership Summit and all these wonderful, beautiful ladies who are in the room. Leaders all across South Carolina, and we're just so delighted to be with you today. We've got a lot to cover, but I want to first thank Donna Ayers and Jessica Martinez, my standbys and co-hosts for many years, for being here with us today on this special occasion. It's not only just the Circle of Influence we're celebrating, we're also celebrating the 23rd anniversary of IMARA Women Magazine. Let's just dive right into our first topic. You know, all of us are we're business women. Donna, you have a consulting firm, you're in real estate, I have IMARA. You know, it's not easy being a woman and being in business.
Not at all.
And let's just talk a minute about the challenges and why you decided to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for myself. Start with you, Donna.
Start with me, the pressure's on. Well, I did work in political consulting for a long time and running campaigns. And so I became, I don't know if it's a business, but I did independent contracting and went to work for large companies like AARP and some other people doing political work, and I really enjoyed it, and then I segued into lobbying. But when I saw our topic, one of the things that I wanted to mention that you may not know a lot about is that I used to have a little side business doing catering.
I didn't know that.
And how that came to be is I started going to the Carolina Cup when I was in college, and I loved the people that had the huge, you know, the linens to the floor and the silver and all that. So I started buying pretty tablecloths and collecting silver for my cup spot. And then as the political campaigns grew, a lot of times when we would have people that were running for the State House for the first time, and Wendy, you know about this, they're on shoestring budgets. And so I would go in, I had all this silver, and they needed somebody to kind of provide food. And so I would go in and cater these fundraisers for them in people's homes. And then it kind of took off into like a little side business of doing catering, and I still do a couple of events a year. So when I heard about our topic, I thought that that would be something neat to share. Especially for our viewers that, you know, maybe looking for a little side hustle. And here was something that was a hobby and then an opportunity to help some of our clients that were on these tight budgets to have a nice reception for their fundraisers, and then it's segued into like a little side business. So I just thought that I wanted to share that with you because you never know.
And see, I've known you for all these years, and I never knew that. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Jessica, what about you?
Well, I was working for a company for 13 years, and I needed more flexibility with my schedule because my mother suffered from mental illness, and so anyway, I was already a realtor, and I decided to go. I said, I'm either going to sink or swim, and I said a little prayer, and I'm so glad that I made that decision because she died like 2 years ago. So I was so happy that I got to spend that time, and you know, it's so important, yes, to make money, but the most important thing is your family. I'm so glad that I spent that time with her. I have no regrets. It wasn't easy, you know, because of her mental health, but I'm so glad that I made that decision. So, but having your own business is not easy, especially when you're earning money on a commission, and you know, your money depends on your clients, and sometimes it works, sometimes it's great. It's like either feast or famine. But
about that,
we just got to keep going.
Well, it's interesting because something that you say reminds me of a phrase that I've heard very often, that if you're doing something that you love, it never really feels like work.
That's right.
And I've been really, really blessed. I remember when I left, I was in state government. I had been there for about 13 years at the Department of Insurance, of all places, in an industry where, honestly, there weren't very many women, and there certainly weren't very many black women who were doing the things that I was doing at the time. I was a director. I had an appreciable level division that I was responsible for, but I wasn't happy. And I can remember sitting in one of the meetings and looking over to one of my friends who was also in that same meeting and saying, I hate this job. And I thought to myself, you know, why am I doing this if I hate it so? So guess what? On April the 1st, guess what that is? That's April 1995, I walked away. And I am so glad that I did, because it was the best decision for me. And it was really good for my family too, because at the time I was working really hard. I was teaching at Midlands Tech in the evening. I had this business, event planning business, and some of the ladies over there worked with me with that. All my time was spent doing something else. And my daughter at the time was about 4 years old, and she said to me, Mommy, let's throw away the computer. Because to her, the computer was her competition. And that just resonated with me in such a way. She's 33 now, and so that tells you how long I've been in the game. But, you know, being a small business owner is not easy, but I love it. And it's for things just like what we're doing here today that make small business ownership so special. So that's my spiel.
That's good. Well, we're gonna have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we have an amazing businesswoman and entrepreneur that's going to join us. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Done is better than perfect. Do you want to strive for excellence? Absolutely. You always want to strive for excellence, but just make sure you're listening to your body and you're taking that time to take care of yourself. But because sometimes, again, we stress ourselves out in the pursuit of perfection. Don't stress yourself out in the pursuit of perfection. Rest. I saw a quote that said, almost everything you unplug will work again if you unplug it for a minute.
Now I know some of y'all don't know about this, but I grew up in what they call crosstown, cross the track. You know, so people start judging you just from where you're reared, and the expectation is not high. And actually, I can remember times when different people would say some very mean things to me, even before mother got sick. I didn't dare go home telling her that. But sometimes when you're trying to get out of an area, that's just the ground that God has blessed you to start in. So as you go higher, those little things don't bother you like they used to. Right?
My mama didn't play. I always thought that there was something missing in our relationship. But I got some good stuff from my mama. She taught me, you be nice to everybody, every day. But you draw a line in that sand. And if somebody crosses that line, you firm up your back and you let them know.
I was now at the table of important decision making for our city. Through this process, I met new people and made new friends. But I also lost friends as well. I was told that might happen. Sometimes that might happen only because some people can't adjust to your new level in life. But that's not for you to worry about. Still be kind, and most importantly, still be you. People will come and people will go, but you will always be with you. So stay true to yourself.
So our mission is to build a movement for the health, economic well-being, and rights of women, girls, and gender-expansive people in the state of South Carolina. So that's what it's really about for us. So as the policy director, I go to the State House every day, and I am actively fighting against things that will harm women in the state and pushing for things that will also benefit us. So there are constant attacks, but we're not an organization that just is trying to hold the floodgates. It's like, I can walk and chew gum, same time. I know what I need, so I'm going to tell you I do not need classroom censorship, but you know what I do need is for you to support making sure there's not a tax on period products. I'm going to tell you the supplement of what you should do.
Welcome back. We are delighted to have with us today my sister friend, Tammy McCautry, the CEO of Tammy Media Group, LLC, and a businesswoman extraordinaire. Tammy, thank you so very much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Wendy. You know, I just want to tell you again, it's great being here at the Leadership Summit, and it is wonderful being a collaborator with you and IMARA. This has just been fantastic, so thank you again. I love you, you know that.
Oh, the feeling is very mutual. It was one of the best decisions we ever made was to collaborate. Get that, ladies, collaboration works. Don't let them tell you that we don't work together because we can.
Tammy, we're so glad you're here. Can you tell the audience and our viewers a little bit about your company?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jessica, and again, Donna, thank you all for sitting here on this table with these beautiful women of IMARA. Well, first of all, I just want to say that Tammy Media Group, LLC is a television production, event management, and public relations company. So we kind of do it all. One of the things that I'm passionate about is television. And people say, how did you get in television? It's because of my father when he was dying. And I'll tell you about that when we get into, I'm not going to run into that. But again, television is my thing. I produce the Tammy TV show, I've done documentaries, and it's just a joy. The event management came about through divorce. We have someone in the audience who was talking about being divorced, and I started an event management company. I'm not just an event planner, I manage that. You know, it's different when you can just put a tablecloth on and put in a flower, whatever. And so we manage that. We take time to help you create it. We take time to talk about your vision, put it together, and execute it. And then, of course, the public relations. That's just marketing. I've been a campaign manager for a major citywide, school-wide election and some other things. And so public relations is what I do as well. Just helping people and making sure that they can tell their stories. And that's really what it's all about. So it all comes full circle. And so that's what Tammy Media Group LLC is all about in the short version. Because I'm a microbiologist, y'all, but in the short version.
Well, we were talking earlier about striking out on your own and doing these entrepreneurial things. What motivated you to say, now's the time?
Couple of things. As I said, my father passed away, and as he was transitioning, one of the things that I told him was that I was going to make a difference in the world of others through wisdom and knowledge. And believe it or not, it really wasn't going out and doing television. That just came about. And then just motivational, just making sure that I want to tell people stories like I had a lady tell me, and I've been on television, folks, for over 16 plus years. This is going into about the 18th year, as we can say. And I had someone tell me, say, well, your hair didn't look right, and your makeup didn't look right. I said, well, honey, if you're looking at me, you're looking at the wrong reason. I'm here as a vehicle to make sure that your story is heard. So don't pay attention to me, pay attention to what's going on the table, as we say, just like sitting here now. And so Donna, that's what kind of motivated me and my father, you know, passing. And I'm a daddy's girl, so I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing. But recently, in the last 2 years, I stepped out on my own. I was working at Claflin University for 6 years as a director of special events. That was through divorce. Got to do something a little different. And throughout doing that, I was able to meet the county administrator for Orangeburg County. Now my company, going into the 2nd year, is running the Orangeburg County Conference Center. I don't work for the county, it's a contract. And so now I have that, and that's part of that entrepreneurial journey, as I can say.
You know, a lot of times people, I know this was hard for me, whenever I was getting ready to walk away from my state job, one of the things I struggled with was, you know, well, I want to make sure I pay for my car. Well, I want to make sure I do. You know, I had a list of stuff that I wanted to do. And even once I did those things, I was still scared. And somebody told me that you have to do things scared. You have to do them scared. So sometimes we shy away from doing things that frighten us. particularly if you're a planner, and we all are, and the plan isn't, you know, sketched out and promised, and you're really stepping out on faith. And I think for Black women in particular, women in general, but especially for us, because there's so little opportunity for funding and all the things that it takes to make a successful business, it really is a step of faith.
It is. I mean, it truly is. As I said, working at Claflin, I loved what I did. Don't get me wrong, but when the opportunity came about, and I'm telling you all, I said I wasn't ever going to leave. I said I was going to just retire there. And because the man, he said, you drank the Claflin Kool-Aid. And so, and I was in the shower, and I tell everybody this, I was in the shower and I heard the voice of the Lord, and I really heard the voice of the Lord tell me, say, call him. It's Sunday morning, call him. And out of that conversation, this is what happened. You know, people, we go into saying we have a side hustle. And a lot of times we don't put effort into doing that side hustle. But when that side hustle becomes something that you enjoy and you love, and that's something that you want to do, guess what? You just step, as you said, I'm a person of step. Order my steps and just step out on faith. And it's not easy because listen, as hard as I worked for everybody else, executive director of the YWCA, pharmacology researcher, I'm telling you, as hard as I work for everybody else, I'm working that much harder for myself. So I may not get home until 2 o'clock in the morning, then have to get back up at 6 o'clock to be somewhere and working that hard. And you do what you do because that's what you love. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Money, having the funding, and Wendy, you all know this, having the funding to do what you want. It's not easy at all.
It's funny because, you know, one of the things that I tell people all the time is they say, oh, you have such a glamorous job. But I mean, y'all have seen me running around here, even in this room today. I mean, you just work all the time, but you love it. I tell people you can come into my office and you might find me taking the trash out, mopping the floor, vacuuming, and the next day I'm sitting in a meeting with the mayor. So you have to have that kind of flexibility and not take yourself so seriously that you're not willing to do the grunt work. Because if you're going to run a business, you're going to have a lot of grunt work. And if you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and do it, you can't ask other people to do it.
So I had someone come to my studio, and I do have a studio in Orangeburg, and it was counting people. I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning, cleaning toilets, you know, I was mopping the floors, and doing what I had to do. And when they walked in, I was like, oh my God, we didn't know this was here? Of course. But like you said, you have to put the work in. If you're going to do it, you have to put the work in.
And then also, this is a leadership summit, and kind of circling back to what you just said, I would never ask somebody that was working for me to do something they hadn't seen me do.
Oh, right.
That's
So when they say, well, I don't want to clean that toilet, or I don't want to mop the bathroom floor, you can say, well, I did it.
That's right.
And it's just about getting the job done. Like you said, it's not always glamorous.
It's not always glamorous. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for all the collaboration that you did to make the Leadership Summit such a success today.
Thank you. You know, I'm getting ready to cry, but thank you. Thank you.
Can you stay put for a minute?
I sure
We're going to go right into our next segment and change directions a little bit. And we're going to talk about a topic that unfortunately is happening far too often in our country and sadly even in our state. We've had children as young as elementary school bringing knives and loaded guns to class. And you have to wonder, you know, at what point does a person's right to have a firearm come with some level of responsibility? And I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, we are in a situation now where we almost are numb to the fact that we are having school shootings every month or sometimes weekly across this country. I was listening to a statistic that said that we've had hundreds of school shootings already, and we've had even more mass shootings where they say 3 or more people are either killed or wounded. And we are in a violent society, and I don't have the answers, but we would like to hear from you today. So if we can get the cameras and the mics to some of the folk in our audience, tell us what you think we need to do as a society to help us deal with the violence that we are seeing, particularly in our schools. And I'm not just limiting it to our K through 12, it's happening in our college institutions as well. I think we have a couple of students over here from Claflin. So if you don't mind sharing, if you could tell us what needs to happen to make some of this stop.
Hi everyone, my name is Madison Robinson. I'm a freshman political science major from Claflin University, originally from Baltimore, Maryland. In my opinion, I believe young people need to come together and build a sense of community in order to stop the violence in schools. Because oftentimes when we look at individuals who have caused violence in schools, they come from broken homes or suffer from mental illness and just are children that need a little extra love.
My name is Nyla Outing. I'm a sophomore environmental science major, Spanish minor, and I'm originally from Hawkins, South Carolina. I go to Claflin University. And I believe that we need to empower ourselves to go into the political scene. I think we have a lot of power in our voices. I think we can, like Madison said, band together in community groups and organizations that care deeply about the lives in these communities. We can make a difference. We can make our voices heard. But we have to keep fighting, unfortunately. We have to keep fighting. But I definitely believe that political action, I think political advocacy groups can make a big difference. Thank you.
I want to just mention something. One of the things that we were trying to do, and Kimberly and Crystal know this when we were at the State House, was pass legislation responsible legislation about guns. You know, guns are everywhere. And, you know, sometimes the solution, you know, when people hear about a school shooting, the first thing some of my former colleagues used to say was that we need to arm the teachers. They need to have guns. And I guess next it'll be, let's see if the 18-year-olds, because some of them are in high school, let's make sure they got guns too. I mean, at what point, y'all, do we say enough? And it's not just guns, it's the kind of guns. This latest shooting, and most of the mass shootings have been with assault weapons. And they shoot hundreds of bullets in a matter of seconds. The police got there fairly quickly to put an end to the violence, but fairly quickly wasn't enough for 6 people to be dead, 3 of them children. So I don't know what the answer is, but how do you feel about assault weapons? Do you think, I mean, I am a pro Second Amendment person. I believe you have a right to have a gun. I really do, but I also think you have a responsibility once you have a gun. So I'll throw that comment out, and then if there are other comments from the audience. Don, I'd love to hear your perspective. I really would on this issue.
Well, I do agree that gun ownership and any type of gun requires responsibility. And, you know, especially with young children. And then not just in school shootings, but we've seen young children that get a hold of a weapon when their parent isn't around and they injure themselves or a sibling or another child. I think it's a huge responsibility, and that those guns need to be secured in a locked drawer, in a gun safe, or, you know, I don't have young nieces and nephews anymore, and they're not over at my house a lot, but I was always so cognizant of, you know, if they were coming over and I have a gun in my nightstand, to remove it and put it up somewhere where they could never get to it, where they couldn't even touch it. So I think that's a big part of it. And certainly for people that have assault rifles, you know, I don't know what we need those for. What are you hunting?
Humans, that's what they're hunting. They're hunting human beings.
So, I don't know what the answer is there. I know a lot of people, even family members of mine, that have assault rifles, but you can believe they are secured in very large gun safes that only they have access to. But that is disturbing. You know, my opinion is changing on the assault rifle thing.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of it is from the conversations we've had on the show
Thank you.
and some of the things that are happening.
I think that's what, and I mentioned this earlier, that's what's so important about these conversations, these dialogues. I know that we have folks from Her Story here, it's a book club here in Columbia, that they get together and they read books, but they do a lot more than that. They have fun, they go out, they do things in the community too. Those kinds of circles are important. And I don't know what you all are doing to feed your spirit, but need to feed it some kind of way. Because the world needs our voices, and it needs our advocacy, and it needs our activism.
That's right.
We cannot just sit and talk. We have to be willing to get up, roll our sleeves up, like these mayors have done, and do the work. Because it's scary to me what's happening. It's good to hear from young people that have the kind of hope that I heard in your responses. And we gotta have that same hope. Well, that completes our show today. It seems like time goes so fast when we're having such a great time. Tammy, thank you so much again for being with us. Jessica and Donna, as always, thank you, my sisters. You are wonderful. Well, we hope that you learned something new and it's something that empowers and inspires you.
Don't forget to like IMARA Woman Magazine on Facebook.
And watch and subscribe to IMARA Woman Magazine on YouTube. You can watch us online.
Well, until the next time, peace and blessings.